Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I'll be your life coach this evening. So, if you read the topic of what we're going to be talking about today, it's going to be about happiness. So, we're going to be dissecting what is happiness, right? Is it happiness something that's just a passing glance where we feel it and it's gone, or can we make it long lasting? And a lot of people want to be happy, but they fail to understand what truly makes them happy. So what is happiness, right? So happiness is a primary emotion that exemplifies abundance, joy, a good feeling, where things are going your way, where you're content, where you maybe are more than content, but things are good. Maybe you could wish something was better, but typically when people are happy, they're happy with what they have. They're happy with what just happened. They're satisfied. And some people could live life just simply being unhappy, even though something could make them a little bit more joyous, a little bit more happy. They choose to be down. They choose to be pessimistic. And that's fine and all, of course, because you're your own person. But you have to ask yourself, were you always this way? Were you always negative? Were you always pessimistic? Were you always a downer? And do you like it? Maybe you do, right? Maybe you like being alone. Maybe you like being unhappy. There's people like that. This podcast is not for them. It's not for you if you're going to want to favor that. But I'm not saying to not appreciate that, because in life you need the good and the bad. You need the sadness in order to understand great happiness. So, the intervals of happiness. Are you happy? How can you tell? And a little bit about me. When I was in college, I thought I was happy. Everything was going my way. Didn't have a problem with school, friends. I had it all. But then it took an awakening, or the journey to be on the path of an awakening, where my mind was exactly where I needed it to be, versus I'm doing what the world is throwing at me and I'm just accomplishing it easy peasy. But what do I really want? What do I want to accomplish out of my life? What is my end goal? And that's where people struggle. They have a hard time finding their end goal because they take what life gives them, and before you know it, life's over. So how can we take the steps needed to not allow life to take control, to take over the wheel and dictate what we can have, dictate what we will have? And that's where you have to understand what type of effort are you putting forth. And a lot of people are going to simply allow life to happen, right? They're going to become complacent. They're going to just do their mundane tasks. And that's fine, right? Because not everyone can be full gun ho. My mindset is, limitless. And now I'm going to be focused on everything I want to do and I'm going to achieve it. Now, is it possible? It's a very low probability that everyone in the world will do that, because I talked about it before. If you're telling someone a fact, data, whatever it be, they have their own opinion. And as long as they have their own opinion, their own belief, they're going to continue to do exactly what it is they want to do. So that means if someone is going to be pro or against a belief, an act, a job, doesn't matter what it is. That's going to be their belief. That's going to be their mindset. And that's where people struggle because they're not open. They're not able to hear the other side. And it's not even about being in the center. It's not so much about being in the center and saying, oh, I'm in the center. I can see both sides. And, I can really make a good choice. That's not the case. Because what's really happening is if you're in the middle, yes, you can see both sides. But which side is ringing truer to you? And does that side lift you up or bring you down? Because if you choose the wrong side, that's life. And we're going through life. We're going through our first experiences every day. Today is a new day. You didn't have this day before. Yes, it's another Monday. Yes, it's another episode of Coaching in Session. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Yes, it is another September 27th. But it's not going to be another September 27th, 2021. Today is going to be over, if it's not already over, depending on where you live in the world. So if you only get one of each day, and we understand that we have a finite amount of days in our life, why are we not pursuing things that are going to create joy? Even if it requires some hard work in the beginning. Would you rather have an easy life now or hard life later? And that's what people choose. They choose easy now, hard later. Instead of hard now, easy later. And it comes back to our current environment, our current society. Because our society is telling us to be comfortable, right? We have created a very comfortable world. The bed that you're sleeping in was created for your comfort, for you to have a great night's sleep. Whether that be you're focused on, all right, I'm going to make sure my bed is super soft and it has down pillows and all these wonderful things. Thank you for the follow, YNC. All of those things. We created it. Keep your food fresh. Your drinks cold. A refrigerator was created to keep you entertained. Television. Handheld devices. Cell phones. Nintendo Switches. Etc. We have made life very plush. And it's hard to give it up. And if you're attached to your smartphone, if you're attached to the sofa and Netflix and your blankie and your Snuggie, whatever it be, there's nothing wrong with that. However, does that make you happy? And if it does it produce long-lasting happiness? Because the things we do are temporary. Yeah, we can sleep all day and become unfulfilled. That's his own problem. We need to start focusing more on what we need in the end. And that's where the intervals of happiness comes into play. Because at some point in your life, you were not thinking about your bills you had to pay. You were not thinking about all the things that you couldn't do because you ran out of time. You have your dreams and your imagination. And that's the power of the youth. When you're young, or if you have children, or nieces, nephews that are young, understand that they're dreaming. They're dreamers. Their imagination is so vivid. And some of that imagination is lost in the school system, but not all of it. Some of that imagination is crushed by our peers, by people who we grow up with, by people we put some faith in until that faith is lost. And then our dreams and our ideals and our fantasies become a little bit more private. We don't tell people about our most desired life. We don't tell people about what we want to accomplish for the fear that they may say that we can't have it, or for the fear of thinking that we're weird, or just a dreamer. We're not a realist if we have huge goals. We're just another person who thinks big, but will never achieve anything more than what we have. And that's the problem with our peers. That's the problem with society, where we look at a person and we put them in a box and we say, you're going to stay in that box. Teachers put students in boxes. They say you'll never be anything more than you are right now. They say you're going to grow up to have nothing, etc., etc. How many stories of adults telling, crowds of people how it was for them when they were young? Plenty. I've had teachers tell me not to do things that I wouldn't suffice to anything. I had adults when I'm in my working career tell me that I wouldn't be successful. And I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from an area of frustration because they're not there. I have never had a successful person say, I wouldn't become successful, because they understood what it took to get there. And they may or may not see that spark in me, but from all my mentors and all the people I speak with and learn from, they tell me exactly my gift. They say, this is what you need to do, and this is how to do it. And that's why life coaching, mentoring, so powerful, because you have your thought in your mind. And yes, you have maybe good friends in your life. You might have a spouse or a partner who is super supportive, but they are not there to carry your weight. They're not there to push your ideals. So if they're not there for that, then what are they there for? They're not there for your happiness. That's for sure. Because I talked about relationships already and happiness. Relationships don't make you happy. Yes, they might elevate your happiness, but they do not make you happy. And I remember I was in a relationship where the young lady, she wanted to, have a relationship, and we already went through the dating phase. And I told her it wasn't going to work, right? It was, we were just in two different realms of mindsets, right? So I'm very driven and she was very complacent. And even when I pointed out, hey, you're being complacent, would you be willing to change, right? And I'm not trying to change her. I was trying to show her that there's areas in her life that she can become better. And she said, sure, I would like that. But when it was time to do the action, it wasn't happening. And then an excuse was, I just want to be happy. And then it went on. It just went on. I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. And if I'm with you, I'll be happy. But you weren't doing the actions that would produce your own happiness. You were depending on me to make you happy. And when that happens, it's very dangerous, because now people are going to assume Everyone is out to make me happy. The world should make me happy. You should do things that make me happy. And that's the world we're living in. Look at COVID. Look at the vaccines. The vaccinated, for example, my vaccine doesn't work unless you get your vaccine. Ask them if they're happy that the unvaccinated are not getting their vaccine. They might be agitated. They might say, it is what it is. But if they had a magic wand, boop, everyone would be vaccinated. Very interesting. So I wanted to get into an Instagram post that I had posted a few weeks back, and it's a way of thinking. Very powerful, actually, too. So the Instagram post says, a man who views the world at 40 the same way he did at 20 has just wasted 20 years of his life. And I have people, and we talked about it briefly on another episode, but this is definitely pertinent to your happiness. So if you were 20 years younger, how would you be feeling? Would you be feeling that you're on top of the world? Would you be feeling that you can accomplish anything? Or would you be in the exact same mindset as you are today? And it might be safe to assume that the majority of the people are going to say, I am less happy now than I was at 20, or I'm less happy now than I was 20 years ago. And it's due to the current circumstances of our world. Lockdowns, food shortages that are talked about or maybe on the rise, an impending economic collapse, housing market collapse, all these things for people to worry about. And we talked about how the news and how certain people are going to push this rhetoric and apply fear in a very subtle sense. And it's not so much to make you fearful to be in the stock market, buy a home, go outside, enjoy life, but just enough fear to be careful. Just enough fear that before you shake someone's hand, you second guess it. You say, is this person clean? That's what happened this past year and a half, just going on 2 years. We have become conditioned to pay attention more to health, wellness, in our current circumstances. And a lot of people are living in the current circumstances that someone else is allotting for them. So that means if the government is saying, hey, you can come outside only to exercise, you can go outside only to buy groceries, but you need to make sure you get a reservation at the grocery store. And if we catch you, it's going to be a fine. I can understand why people are less happy today. Their freedoms were stripped away. And I could only imagine how the slaves felt when they were taken away from the homeland, put on a ship, and brought over to a country or a land that they knew nothing about. And they were forced to work and be mistreated day after day. They didn't have the ability to speak up. They didn't have the ability to run away and be safe when they did so. They were stuck. And it was many years before they can get unstuck. And even then, the stigma still stayed for years after. And that's what's happening to people. We're stuck. And we need to become unstuck. So let's get into the Intervals of Happiness blog. So the Intervals of Happiness blog is simply talking about how when we were younger, we had a vivid imagination, we were more happy, we were more eager to do things, and now not so much. But to pay attention to that too, because when you're young, you're like a superhero. Nothing can stop you. You're invincible. And you're excited to become able to drive. You're excited to become an adult. And then you become an adult and you're like, I have to pay bills. I have to pay taxes. I have to do this and that. And I don't really want to do that. I just want to stay home and relax. Being an adult is a lot of work. But when you're young, you see the future in the sense of a lot of good things are going to happen. And even if you came in from a negative environment, a bad household, that way of thinking for that young mind, that young person is going to be, as soon as I'm older, I'm going to get out of here. So they're looking for the future to hold something better. But when that happens, we're actually putting off the present. We're not paying attention anymore to what's happening around us. So all the time that we spend in Fantasyland, daydreaming, it's good, right? Because it gives us a goal, gives us some focus. But if we don't attach a plan to it, then it just becomes a wish. Something we hope to happen, not something we deem to happen, something we will to happen. And it takes a certain person, a certain type of effort for you to say, all right, I'm going to go after a little bit more today. Yes, I want to do this in my life, but first I need to do this as stepping stones to success. The small steps matter, and people forget to see that. And here we have a ladder, right? The importance of smaller steps. We can want to jump ahead, look for shortcuts, but the small steps make so much more sense, in the sense that the small steps, easier to climb, easier not to miss a step, less scary, because the distance between the two are dramatic. I would rather take a careful amount of time to get to where I want to be than something that's going to be very risky. Similar to how Dave Ramsey does his baby steps, where he talks about like eliminating debt and then going into safe stocks, things like that. You will become a millionaire eventually. It's a very safe bet to be a millionaire. But how long will that take? Right? Well, until your 50s, depending on when you start too, and depending how much money you're bringing in and how much money you're saving. It's the baby steps that matter. And in the intervals of happiness, we have to look at the steps we're taking in life. Because when we're young, we're trying to jump all the way to the top, all the way to being an adult. And then we realize, you know what, maybe that doesn't make sense. Maybe I should focus on what I need to do right now. Because school's stressful. Life is stressful. And I know many adults will say, oh, I'll do anything to, be in school again. Maybe not currently with the whole mask mandates and COVID vaccines, but before, when teachers weren't hogtied and could teach, where they weren't given lesson plans to say, okay, recite this to your students and make sure they're able to pass the standardized test, or at least do well. And then you have some students that just give up hope. They don't want to hit A, B, C, or D. They'll put all A's. They'll put all B's, all D's, whatever they're feeling. They'll even guess. I've seen it. And it's not so much that they're against the system. It's not so much that they can't do it. It's that they don't have the vision of what they could become if they put in effort now instead of later. They give up too soon. And the reason why children give up like that is because teachers give up, parents give up, mentors, life coaches, trainers, they give up on you too soon. And for me, when I get people, or if I have someone who is a trainer, coach, teacher, and they tell me that someone can't do anything or isn't able to do something, I ask them, well, who are you? Who are you to decide that this person can or can't do anything? It's interesting because they're just another person. They're just another adult who is upset, lost their patience. Maybe their life is not going exactly the way they wish it would go. So this young mind, this young student, this person who is just trying to grow up, live life, they're just letting all that anger out on them, all that frustration on them. Because people fail to understand where you are right now. So wherever you are in the world, if you're listening to this from America, China, India, it doesn't matter where you are. Understand that where you are, it's because of your choice right now. Unless you're like super young and you can't travel yet, or you can't make the choice, or you can't live on your own, right? But if you're an adult over the age of 18, you make the choice where you want to be. And so people complain about their choice when they're 40, 50. I'm stuck at this job. I can't get out. I have 5 more years before I retire, et cetera, right? Hear it all the time. But they look for what's next. They're not happy where they are. So they're looking for what's next, what will make them happy. And it's easy for adults to say, a higher paying job is going to make me happy. More money is going to make me happy. A loving spouse, or a fast car, a big house, maybe a dog, maybe a cat. They'll make me happy. And we're stuck in that cycle of needing something in order to make us happy, when happiness is actually just ourselves understanding our situation and our environment and then putting effort to creating the outcome we want. And that's powerful, because people say they want something, but they don't do the work needed in order to get it. So yes, you want to be happy. What's the first step? What interval are you on? Are you thinking that you're young and you want all these things in your life, and then people tell you that you can't, and now you have an obstacle that you have to work through or break down in order to overcome and progress in your life? Maybe you're there. Maybe you're at a point where things are starting to get better. You came from a very bad spot. You hit rock bottom, and now life is starting to look up. Maybe you're there. Maybe you're on the top of the mountain and you're afraid to fall. Maybe you're already at one mountain peak and you look over at the next mountain and it's a little bit taller. Maybe it's a lot bit taller. But you don't dare to climb it for the risk of losing your view, from losing your spot on your mountaintop. Just people who are there. And working through that mindset, working through the idea of, all right, I need to focus more on what my future is going to hold, because that's going to create more abundance, is going to create a better, wholesome life for myself. And that's where people fail. People have a hard time understanding what comes next. Well, what comes next? Because people don't ask questions. They say this is going to happen, and they say, okay, cool, let's do it. How many times have you gone out with friends and they said, we're going out to eat, and you're like, cool, let's go. Then you always have maybe a person saying, well, where are we going to eat? Oh, we're just going to go to get Mexican food, get some margaritas, whatever. Okay. It doesn't matter the destination. What matters is the people who you surround yourself with. Because if you're starting to ask, well, where are we going? Unless this person has a bad track record of going to places that are terrible, then yeah, you know, it might be wise to start to question them. But if not, then the company that you're with should be reason enough for you to say, I'm going to go out. The friends that you have should be people you say, okay, this person's a really good person. Come on over. Let's get breakfast. Or come on over. We'll watch a movie together. Times are changing. And people are waking up. People are waking up that to the sense they say, I cannot be happy in my current circumstances, so I need to change my current circumstances. And we have people moving, right? From states, countries. We have an immigration issue right now on the border where people are coming all from around the world. And for me, hey, the more the merrier. But at the same time, there should be some organization in the process. You just can't let people in without properly documenting. There's a process with immigration. And I'm all for people coming to the country as long as they go through the process. And I'm all for people protecting themselves as long as they protect themselves. Maybe, protect their family. Because if they're your family, they should have a similar mindset to you. And if they don't, then, I don't know. Maybe you're adopted. I don't know. Something's wrong. But it comes back to our happiness is fleeting because we're putting it on someone else. I'm not going to be happy until this or that happens. My life is so difficult now because I lost my job. My life is so difficult now because there's a vaccine mandate. My life is so difficult now because I lost my loved one. That's life. Life has ups and it has downs. And we don't complain when everything is going up. And we're just on the escalator to success or on the escalator to a good time. And we say, all right, things are good. But we're not putting any effort while we're on the escalator. Because you're not in a rush yet. You're not in a hurry. There's no urgency. And it's powerful to understand that you have a finite amount of time left. Because if you understand that and you pay attention to it, you start to waste less time. And I'm not saying that you're going to upthrow all the wasted time that you have been doing. Maybe you play video games, maybe you watch some TV, some series, Netflix, read books, right? We need some entertainment in our life, some joy. But don't make that your legacy. Your legacy is what you leave behind. What are you going to leave behind? A bag of half-eaten potato chips and a dent in the sofa? Maybe that's what will make, your family happy. It's about the memories. It's about the time you spend, the effort you put forth. People understand that you're putting effort toward them. And the moment someone understands that there's no effort in a relationship, there's no effort in a friendship, there's no effort in a business, things start to go awry. Things start to decline. And it's not as happy as it was before. You have to open your eyes and pay attention to what's really happening around you. You have to open your eyes and pay attention to what's happening in the world. And don't be influenced by people who are telling you to be afraid, or people who are telling you to not do something because they can't, or because they don't believe it's the right thing. You have to be able to live your life. And some of the best advice I've ever received, I have received plenty of good advice, but this one rings true when a lazy spirit tries to come over me and says, hey, take it easy today. You worked so hard last week, and you know what? You don't need to go to the gym. You already look great. Thank you, but I want more. I'm not going to settle for where I am right now because I know I can become better. And then even your maintenance needs to be on par with you trying to get better. It's interesting. People will tell you to take it easy, but they won't help you get to where you need to be. So where's the intervals of happiness really showing you? That when you're young, you have all this motivation and inspiration that is just shot down, saying, no, like, no, Billy, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. Okay, rightfully so, maybe. If you're doing math, 1 + 1 is 2. They learn. They grow. And there's a difference between educating someone and then training someone to be put down. You can't do this. You can't do that. Okay. And eventually you're going to be living in a box, and you're going to say, well, I'm not supposed to do that because this person told me not to do that. And people struggle. It's very simple to get out of your comfort zone, but it's very difficult to take the actions to get out of your comfort zone. Because I can take you by the hand, I can take you, by the leg if you want to kick and scream, and say, hey, the better life is over here. What are you doing over here? Because where you feel comfortable, that's where you want to stay. And that's where people are right now. They're in an interval where they're complacent. They're in an interval where they're compliant. They're in an interval where they're saying, my freedom is limited, so I'm limited, and I can't enjoy my life to the fullest extent. And it's interesting to me, and it's almost baffling that people are so willing to give up their body, their time, their life. All for what? All for a paycheck? All for a good time, a night out? Yeah. You might be happy for that moment, but will that moment create happiness for your whole entire life? And we have learned that that's not the truth. Because think about a time when you maybe purchased something that you loved. Maybe it's a guitar. Maybe it is a new car. Maybe a new outfit. And you're so excited. You were happy. about the said item you purchased. And then it wears off. The joy and the endorphin rush of you getting something new, it wears off. And that item is just another item. A car brings you to work. The dress is in the closet and stays in the closet for years and you don't wear it anymore. It doesn't bring the same amount of joy as it used to. So what are things that bring joy on a consistent level? People, living beings, dogs, cats, maybe not fish. I'm not sure about fish. But things that grow, change, and form around your life. And you pay attention to that. You pay attention to how much they grew, how much they changed, and you say, wow, I remember when you were crawling around and saying, dada or mama or whatever, and now you're all grown up. It happens pretty quick. I look at some of my family members. I look at some of my friends who had children at a young age when I was in college. And I see how big the kids are. I go, whoa, I'm getting old. But it's not so much that I'm getting old that I'm not able to do anything in my life. It's that time is going. Time is moving. And looking at pictures of them with the family, I'm happy for them. I remember all the good times we had, and I'm sure they remember all the good times that we shared. But they also have their family too to look forward to. Every single day is a new challenge, a new mystery. And it's a process. And you can either hate the process or you can love the process. And that can be said in every area. You can love the process of being young and learning and growing and then failing and then succeeding. It's all of a journey. But when people get knocked down, when people get hurt, they swear off that they're never going to love anyone again because they got hurt so bad. They're never going to open up because someone hurt their feelings. So people are more introverts. And it's not so much introverts where they need to stay inside the house and not talk to anyone like a hermit, but introverts in the sense of I'm not going to put my emotions and my feelings on my sleeve for the world to judge me. I'm going to internalize all of those things, and it happens primarily with men because that's how we were raised, and to deal with it. Our problems are not someone else's problems, so why are we complaining about them? And I have men and women clients who want something in their life. Maybe they want a better relationship. Maybe they want a better career, a different career. And we work on what they really want for themselves, because it's easy to understand that I'm unhappy in a situation. I want to get out of the situation. It's easy to understand that. But what situation do you want to be in? And this is where people love to say, okay, well, just give me some money. I'll be in a big house, or I'll be on a desert island, or I'll be in a forest in a cabin with no internet and just some books. It's very possible. But at some point, the shine wears off again. And you might have a very comfortable life. Maybe all your bills are paid. You have a decent salary. Maybe you're married, have children, some pets, go on vacation whenever you want. You're stable. But what are you doing to maintain it? What are you doing to get better? Is that your pinnacle of happiness right there where you are? Are you just kind of going through life at some point and you're just like, okay, I'm going to go out with my kids to Disney World and we're going to have a new experience. I'm going to love that experience with my children. Okay, what's next? Well, I have to focus on school and work, so then I have to do that. What's next? And if you keep asking what's next, eventually you're going to start to go in a circle. You're going to go into a rat race. And the rat race doesn't necessarily mean you're working paycheck to paycheck. Rich Dad Poor Dad, it's, talked about the rat race in the sense of you're working every week to get a paycheck to pay the bills, but you're not getting ahead. So if you're not getting ahead, where are you going? If you're in the middle class, you're falling. If you're in the top 1%, you're most likely rising. Because we could talk about politics, inflation, just the way the economy is moving, the mindsets of the middle class and the lower class is that of scarcity, is that of being limited. There's only a limited amount of money. There's a limited amount of success. And as long as people are going to believe that their life has limits and there's bars that are keeping them from reaching the key to the cell or the gate, they have to be able to take those bars and knock them over, key or no key. You have to be able to take the walls that they built up in their mind and tear them down, because you shouldn't have any walls in your mind. There should be no obstacles. You should fly unabated. You should be able to move in your life in the world with the luxury of freedom. And if you don't have that type of freedom, whether it be a mindset, whether it be government regulations, or it be because of your own circumstances, is your choice. I remember I was talking to someone on Twitter. Twitter is my most political platform because it just makes me happy. So I'm a little bit more political on Twitter. But when it comes to streaming, a little less political. Typically, I'm able to talk to both parties on a fair basis. And when it comes to blogs, 100% neutral, I think. But when it comes to Twitter, it's my opinion, right? And I don't believe that you should recite what I'm saying and believe what I believe. Because I have learned not everyone in the world is going to like you. Maybe they just look at your face and they say, I don't like you. I don't like the way your face looks. Maybe they look at you and they say, I don't like your energy. Maybe you're in the zodiacs. I don't like your sign. There's plenty of reasons to not like anyone. Culture, religion, color, whatever. You can spend your whole life hating people if you really wanted to. But we're not talking about that. What we need to understand is that, okay, I could be this way, or I can start to live my life the way I want to live. It's interesting because on Twitter, people have their opinion, and their opinion is so important. They need people to recite their opinion and tell them that they're correct. I don't need to know I'm correct. Because my belief, my opinion is mine. Mine to hold. Mine to live. And as long as people are going to want other people to recite their opinions, happiness is going to be scarce. Because that person is going to be able to get under, their skin. And no one should have access to your emotions. You should be the person in charge of your emotions. There's 3 things you're in charge of: your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And your thoughts can be controlled to a certain extent. Your emotions and how you feel are going to be 100% controlled by how you focus on what someone does to you after the fact. So if someone does something to you and you don't like it, now you're angry, you're upset, you're sad. How long do you stay in that realm of being upset, unhappy? And I'm not saying just to smile to accept what happened, but how long you stay there is going to be a reflection of how strong your mindset is. The longer you're staying in a negative mind or a negative emotion is because you have a weak mindset. And what I do as a life coach is I help people understand that if you go into that negative mindset, that's natural. But how long you stay there is your choice. So I work with many clients who are having hardships in their life, being negative for a prolonged period of time. The intervals of happiness. How quick can you get back to happiness? Yes, something happened in your life, but how quick can you get back to being satisfied? How quick can you be back to happy or content? Because when you're content, you're necessarily happy. Because if you're content and you're not paying attention to your emotions, you're happy. But if you're paying attention to your situation and you say it could be better, then you are either sad or not happy. There's a difference because you're putting focus on it. So we know if we put focus on an emotion, a feeling, an action, we can pay more attention to it. If we're paying attention, we can get to where we want to be a little bit quicker. We can reach our goals without a problem. And all that can be understood and read in this blog, The Intervals of Happiness, learning from how you were young and how you thought, and then you're growing up, and all the issues and all the problems and the mindsets. But then something happens. Now you're an adult, and you have a choice to live the way you want to live. You choose where you want to live. And yes, you may have obligations. Maybe you need to take care of your parents if they're living in the same state. Maybe for circumstances, if you have children and you need your parents to watch them while you go to work, or the grandparents, that's a possibility too. But people fail to understand that just because you have hardship doesn't mean you can't have a good life. Just because there's sadness and difficulty doesn't mean you can't be happy. And just because the world says we need to be shut down and you need to hate a certain group of people doesn't mean we can't find happiness in our own life. So at some point we have to start to pay attention to what we have and what is good, and then get rid of the things in our mind that don't benefit us. I don't think about people who don't serve me. I don't think about people who are not going to bring any benefit to my life. I don't think about the haters. I don't have time. Yeah, I might reply to you just to say hello. How are you doing? You must have had a bad day. I had someone send me a message, I think it was on Facebook, and they had a bad day. And they were trying to get help, but in a roundabout way, where it was like, I need you to help me right now. Okay. We can get to work, but this is the process. No, you don't understand. I do understand. Here's the process. And no matter what, that person needed to have it their way. This is not Burger King. So if it's not Burger King, what is it? This is life. Find someone who's going to be a rock, right? Life coach, mentor, teacher, parent. Doesn't matter. And understand that's the point. Your foundation, your anchor, whatever it be. They're not holding you back. They're there to make sure you don't sail away, do the wrong thing, get lost out at sea. And it's important to have someone in your life like that. And a lot of people don't have people like that in their life. And this podcast is an opportunity for people to ask me questions, to start to create a bond if they want to eventually get coaching. That's a possibility. And the podcasts and the blogs and the motivational videos that I put out, they don't cost you anything. But you can listen to all the motivation, all the inspiration. You can go to all the workshops and all the seminars, and you'll be exactly where you are if you don't change your habits. So yes, you might pay attention to your happiness levels. You might want to be more happy in your life, but are you willing to put in the work? Because in my first motivational video, I said, do you want it or do you just kind of want it? Because a lot of people just kind of want it. And if you're a person who just kind of wants it, you have to change that way of thinking. You have to want it. And no matter the circumstance, no matter the difficulty, the challenges, the obstacles, you're going to get it. And it starts with your mind. So definitely a must-read blog. The Intervals of Happiness. Give it a read. revenconcepts.com/resources. We'll send you over to the blog page, the video page. If you haven't, like, comment, subscribe on the videos, share with your friends. Sharing is caring. And this Wednesday, we're going to have another workshop because it's workshop Wednesdays now. So Mondays are going to be blog post Mondays. Wednesdays are going to be workshop Wednesdays, and Fridays are going to be freestyle Fridays where I talk about whatever I want. So last week we talked about the news, and I actually enjoy talking about the news. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or or someone who is shaming the news, but I just want to put to attention what the news does to your mind. And it's powerful. It's almost a form of brainwashing where people are being told a steady stream of negativity and fear that till now they become fearful and negative. And the mind is naturally negative. So what can we do to make it more positive? What can we do to make it more happy? And that is to filter the content that we allow in our mind, to filter how we think about what happens in our day. So if someone cuts me off on the road, what do? Do I yell and I scream and I say, curse that person, they're a jerk? Or do I say, he must be late. He must be in a rush. Maybe he had a bad day. I'm not going to be upset with a person who shouldn't have any access to my emotions. That's a waste of time. So I'm going to focus on me. And you should do the same. You should focus on who you're becoming. And the intervals of happiness do not have to come to an end because you're 40 years old. It doesn't have to come to the end because you hit a midlife crisis or because the world is shut down or the government is mandating things for you to do. No. Because if that's the case, you rise, you shine, not the other way around. So until I see you again Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, everyone stay beautiful, take it easy. If you have any questions, email me at coachinginsession@gmail.com. It could be short, long. If you want it to be on the show, just let me know you want it to be on the show. If you want it just in private, just say private and I will give you my opinion. So I will see you Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hopefully sharp. Good idea.